Carey Price had his first media availability in a long time today, and he said he is not done yet. I'll be breaking down everything that was said in this media availability, plus why I believe that Carey Price's number will and should be retired in the Centre Bell. Finally, we'll touch on what the new powder blue reverse retros look like on ice as we got our first image, so you won't want to miss this episode of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, and welcome to October 24th, 2022, and today's news edition of Habs Digest. Now, before we get into the content of today's video, as many of you know, we're working towards that 1,000 subscriber mark, and you guys have been amazing with the support. So many subscribers over just the past week, but still, 93% of the people that are viewing the videos on this channel aren't subscribed. It would mean the world to us if you could subscribe. You know, me and Jesse have been working hard to pump out daily content for you guys, so if you want that daily fix of Habs content, click the subscribe button, and we got your back. Alright, so let's get into this, big news topic today, Carey Price's media availability, and the fact that he said he is not quite done yet. Now, let's bring up this tweet here from Eric Engels. Carey Price says he has no plan to retire at this moment, just taking things step by step. Right now, my goal is to be pain-free day to day. So what does this mean? Well, if you're a diehard Habs fan and you know the intricacies of how their contracts work, things like that, we knew that Carey Price wasn't going to come out today and say he's retiring from hockey, officially or unofficially, because he has too much money left on the books for him to say that. If he is put on long-term injury reserve, he can still make that $10 million a year that we owe him and live happily while he's rehabbing his knee and trying to live pain-free. But this media availability today shed a little more light on his situation and exactly how he's feeling and, what the hurdles would be for him to actually come back and play again for Montreal. Now, as you saw there, he said he's working on being pain-free day to day, and what that entails essentially, it was great to see him again. We were happy to see him. It was really nice, but there were some sad undertones to this media availability, including him saying that climbing stairs and carrying his kids upstairs still causes him pain. Now, that is not great news. As he mentioned, the surgery that he would need to have, they take some bone and cartilage from a lower part of his leg and they plug that into his knee. He said it's only about a 50% success rate, and actually, that's much lower than what was previously reported. In a previous report, I believe in The Athletic, it said there was a 75% success rate for this surgery, and Price himself said it's about 50%. So he's still a little skeptical, but the big thing I wanted to speak about, Carey Price said that, you hold out hope, right? He said, quote, "There's this outside hope of a miracle happening that I could maybe come back and play at some point. I've always been a bit of an optimist, so I'm not giving up, and definitely not giving up on winning a Stanley Cup in some aspect," end quote. So right there, we all know Carey Price is in pain. And myself, and I'm sure all you Habs fans, want to make sure that Carey Price is in as little pain as possible. We want him to live a happy, successful life with his family. We don't need him this season, but we'd all love to see him back. And based on that quote, I think he really wants to be back, if at all possible. He did say he doesn't want to jeopardize his health long term, but if there is that chance that through rehab and through hard work without this surgery, that he could come back and play, he said, he just said he's definitely not giving up. We thought maybe he'd come out today and say, I'm in too much pain. I can't see myself playing in the foreseeable future. But that's not what he said. He came out and said, I want to play. I want to keep playing, and I'll do whatever I can. And, he did say in some aspect he'd like to win a Stanley Cup. And he has spoken with Jeff Molson and much of the staff of the Montreal Canadiens that if, there comes a day where he realizes and he comes out and says, my playing days are done, Montreal would love to have him in the front office or some type of, coaching aspect, maybe a goalie coach, something like that. And Price has said that he would love to be a part of that. Even now, while he's not playing, we've seen him in the community at that blood drive at the Bell Center just a few days ago. And, he's been asking Jeff Molson himself and many of the Montreal Canadien staffers what he can do to still be engaged with this team. He is just the consummate professional. He even said in this media availability today that he doesn't want to be around using up the resources of the Montreal Canadiens while there's these other players that are coming in now this season and may need them. He is just so humble, such a professional, such a great person. We would all love to see him back on the ice We just wish him the best. I wish him the best, and I really hope that whatever rehab he's doing now can work long term. And even if we just see him for one more game in a Montreal Canadiens uniform, I think we'd all be extremely happy. So let's move on to topic number 2. All this Carey Price news. I could talk for hours on end about Carey Price, but today's video is mainly about him. Right? We're not sure if he's ever going to play again. This interview has given us some hope that he might. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say he's done. Even if his career ended today, he will get his jersey retired. You can mark my words. If anyone says otherwise, point him towards this video because I'm going to give you some great reasons. Carey Price was the guy that put butts in seats for the Montreal faithful for this past, 15 years. His rookie season in 2007, 2008, a 2.56 GAA in that rookie season. And even in the coming seasons, I remember back in the day, there was a debate. Should we keep Yaroslav Halak or should we keep Carey Price? Well, we made the right decision. Halak was great, but Price was the man. For such a huge stretch of seasons from probably about 2010, I'm looking here probably until the end of the 2016-17 season, Price was the best goalie in the NHL. Maybe not every single one of those seasons, but over that long term, definitely. Sure, other goalies had their amazing seasons. Of course, Pekka Rinne was amazing. Jonathan Quick led the LA Kings to multiple Stanley Cups while probably being the best goalie on the planet during one of those playoff runs. But Price has done the same thing in the playoffs. We saw him, basically, him and Shea Weber. Well, it was mainly just Carey Price was the reason Montreal made it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning as these massive, massive underdogs. He has all these accomplishments for these seasons. He was the goalie in the NHL that you paid to go see. If you were a fan of any other team, if you were a Leafs fan maybe, you would buy tickets to watch Carey Price play against the Leafs. Doesn't matter who you were a fan of, even Boston, you would want to go watch Carey Price play because he was the goalie of the 2010s. And, I can't say anything but positive things about him throughout this whole time. He was such a consummate professional. He was the Montreal Canadiens. If someone said, les Canadiens de Montréal, Montreal Canadiens, your mind, who did it go to? For about the past 15 years, basically, Carey Price. You thought of him before the team even. This man right here, he was the identity. He still arguably is the identity of the Montreal Canadiens. When you ask someone on the street, name one Habs player, I would say the vast majority would say Carey Price. He is a Montreal Canadien. He played every single game of his career for Montreal. He's the all-time leader in wins as a goalie. He has about every individual award you could ask for. In the same season in 2014-15, the Hart Trophy, the Jennings Trophy, the Vezina Trophy, and the Ted Lindsay Trophy. For those of you that aren't aware, the Hart is the MVP of the entire NHL. The Ted Lindsay Award is the award given by the Players Association to who they believe is the best player in the NHL. The Vezina Trophy, the trophy for the best goaltender in the NHL, and the William M. Jennings Trophy, the award given to a goalie who was on the team that gave up the fewest goals that season, and that was Montreal that year when Carey Price put up his 1.96 goals against average in 66 games, a .933 save percentage. One of the best goaltending seasons in all of history, and it was done by him as a Montreal Canadien. And that's not to mention last season when he won the Bill Masterton Trophy for his perseverance, for his struggles on and off the ice. I mean, Carey Price is the guy that you think of for Montreal. Sure, he never won a cup. Sure, many of those guys who are in the rafters have won cups as Montreal Canadiens. But, back then it was a little easier to win a cup. Montreal had the first rights to a lot of the amazing French-born players in the league. Plus, there were fewer teams. There are 32 teams now, and for most of Price's career, there were 30. So much harder to win a Stanley Cup. Now, we should have in 2014, I truly believe that if we had beaten the New York Rangers, we would have beat the Kings in the final in a Carey Price, Jonathan Quick showdown, and we would have had that cup. But, actually even Carey Price in the interview, at about the 10-minute mark, if you go look at the interview, someone asked him, some people look back to the Chris Kreider incident as the catalyst for all these knee problems. And Carey Price said, my knee problems probably started about 8 years ago. So, he believes that incident may have been the start of it. And let me just bring up this Brendan Gallagher quote. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but to me, there's no doubt when you talk about the impact that he's had, you talk about the success that he's had. When you came to the game, people came to watch Carey Price. And you look later, he said, it's hard to say, but it would be fair to say he'd have gotten us there another time if he hadn't been hurt in the 2014 conference final. He just did it so much throughout his career. I think you look at the names and jerseys up there. I understand all the cups. People came specifically to see those players. Pricey was that guy that people came to see, and I completely agree. He was the identity of the Habs for the last 10, 15 years. His name deserves to be up there as much as anyone else. Sure, Patrick Waugh won some cups. Ken Dryden won cups. He had a shortened career. But Carey Price, if you ask anyone my age or even a little older, a little younger than me, who is the Montreal Canadien in your eyes of your lifetime, it's Carey Price. His jersey fully deserves to be up there, and no one can tell me otherwise. All right, well, that's about it for Carey Price. Just one little final thing to talk about right at the end of this video. We got our first look of what the reverse retros look like on ice. And here it is. Here's our boy Cole in the reverse retro. And I gotta say, when I saw the jersey, I believe I mentioned in the video, it's not as creative as I thought it could be. But I think this full kit looks really nice. I mean, to be honest, like, just this full gear with the powder blue socks as well, like, I can see this looking great in game, and I love that the RBC patch, as much as I hate the patch, and I wish it was never there, I love that they did white on the RBC patch instead of the disgusting yellow that's currently on our jerseys. So anyway, that's what it looks like. I don't know what your guys' opinions are. Let me know in the comments, but I like it a little more than I thought I would, so let me know if you share those same opinions. But other than that, that'll do it for this Carey Price-centric episode of Habs Digest. Again, feel free to like, subscribe, share this with anyone that you think might enjoy this video. I've been Josh Gosse, and I hope to see you in the next one.